Hello Barmy Badger Army, I hope you're all well guys. Welcome to today's show. Today we're going to talk about a TV show I recently found on Netflix called Ratched. Now this show is a really interesting find and I'm really pleased to be able to watch it. I've written down the name of the star because I know her from American Horror Story and I just wanted to check. It's Sarah Paulson and she plays Nurse Ratched and she is fantastic in this role. I thought she was great in American Horror Story, but we've seen some really top quality acting from her in this. It is great. It is fantastic. And, you know, I just don't know how they've managed to channel Hitchcockian vibes, but they've managed to do it here. It is great, and I don't know how they've managed it, but the setting is fantastic, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I managed to find this show on Netflix a few days ago, which I was really pleased with, and it is great. It really is a really cool find. Here's an ultra quick plot summary of the first two episodes, without spoilers mainly. Basically, an unusual lady, Nurse Ratched, finds her way, managed to blags her way a job into this mental hospital in order to pretty much save her brother. And we're not going to go into too many details here. That's as much as I want to tell you, because if I tell you any more, it'll spoil it. And I really recommend it. I'm up to episode 2 so far, and I must say, if you like mystery thrillers and you like things that are going to really sort of make you think and make you want to watch the episodes you've just watched again to try and catch every detail, I think you're onto a winner. First of all, I'm going to talk about some of the set pieces. Now, this is where the Hitchcock vibes come in, and there's two ways. Obviously, we're in a very, very old-fashioned mental hospital. Everything seems very clean and tidy, but you know, and very sort of elegant. But you know, when it's a bit too nice, there's something about it where the contrasting colours of the white and the red and the black and all those sorts of different colours that are in there with the uniforms, they're very striking against the natural colour of the white of the hospital. And I think that's on purpose. That's really interesting cinematography to make whatever you see really stand out. And that's why when you see blood or any sort of gore in it, it really stands out because it's against a white table or perhaps a starker, sunnier background in a way. And it's spooky because it makes you think it's happy, but it's not. And the music in it is very Hitchcockian. I've heard da 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 many times, and I'm sure I've heard that in Hitchcock. I'm almost positive I've heard that in Hitchcock films and TV shows and things like that, and dramas. And I don't quite know what the name of the song is or the piece of music, so if you could let me know in the comments, that'd be great. But I definitely recognise it, and the lighting is fantastic. This is another thing. Whenever something slightly spooky or unusual happens, it makes me think, you know, why is there like a bright background in the background? They change the colours, they develop it. Sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's another colour, but the background will be enveloped and it will show you something interesting or weird is happening, and the main character will still be the same colour, so it really puts it in the forefront. Also, I want to talk about, some people have been complaining, this is the worst American Horror Story season ever. We know it's not American Horror Story. It's actually called Ratched. It's not a spin-off as far as I know. It's not anything. It's got no connections with American Horror Story as of yet. They may change it later down the line, but as far as I know, it's got no connections with American Horror Story. So people saying, oh, this is rubbish. It's got all the stars of American Horror Story, but it's nothing like American Horror Story. It's trash. There's no paranormal stuff in it. It's boring. That's because it's a Hitchcockian style thriller that's a slow, bleeding continuation of a story, and it's suspenseful and traditional. It's not going to be American Horror Story. It's got nothing to do with that. You need to get over that. Just because it's got some of the stars of American Horror Story in doesn't mean it's going to be like that or have that in it. So you need to remember it's its own thing, and then you'll be fine. Yes, it has got some of the stars of it in, and they are very recognisable, especially the aforementioned Nurse Ratched and her brother and some of the other characters as well. And of course I believe there's the lady from Sex and the City in it. I don't remember her name. I think it was Miranda she played, but I'm not too sure. She's in it as well. There's some very recognisable faces. Wikipedia tells me that eventually Sharon Stone turns up, but I don't know much about that yet. So that is very interesting. There's going to be loads of stars in it, and I'm sure I always saw the lady from Misery as well. She's in it as well. So that is interesting. There's lots of interesting stars in it. They're very controversial with what they're doing. It's by the same team as American Horror Story, yes, but it has nothing to do with it. So please give it a chance. It's a slow bleed, a build-up story. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Nurse Ratched, what happens, and it's going to be really spooky and fantastic. I'm wondering if they're going to add some paranormal elements in, but I'm not too sure. It's going to be an interesting slow beat of a story where we see what Nurse Ratched's endgame is. Is she really a nurse? Is she actually a psychopath as well? There's so many things, you know. There's some weird, interesting bits where they're trying out new and interestingly gory operations and things like that. There's some really weird things in there that I'm looking forward to being fleshed out. And they love exploring lots of different, how can I put it, lots of different topics, lots of different things. So if you're sensitive to a lot of things, please be wary when you're watching this, as a bit of a side note. But it is fantastic, it's really interesting, and you get to see what it's like in a slightly twisted version of the past in this mental hospital. So I think Nurse Ratched is really good so far. Don't listen to the haters, watch it, see what you think, and let me know in the comments, because I think it's a real spook fest, ideal for Halloween, and if you enjoy psychological thrillers, it's fantastic. Let me know your thoughts on if you're going to watch it, or if you've seen any of it and you're not sure, let me know in the comments and we'll chat about it. Right, thanks, bye.